We're all champions in the ring, including all the hottest guys on American Adversaries. Love ya.
Welcome back to the American Adversaries, ladies and gentlemen. You know, the Monotones wanted to know who wrote the Book of Love. The Baja Men wanted to know who let the dogs out. Boo, 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 boo. And it was the Who that wanted to know, who are you? Right? But,
Johnny, don't sing.
And it's good that, you know, hey, I'm just following after Christopher Hart, man.
Oh,
you heard him sing on the radio before.
Chris.
But, you know, all those questions are good, and you may even know the answer to those questions, which is even better. But they're not going to win you a $20 gift card to Cafe Positano, which the Christopher Hart wants to know, who was that?
That's right. The night with our Who Was That contest, you will win if you are the winner. A $20 gift card to Cafe Positano, of course, the finest Italian restaurant in all Central Florida.
Amen.
You know, it's that time of year where you have graduations, even weddings and stuff going on. Great place to celebrate it is at Cafe Positano. They have fine dining, casual dining, takeout dining, full bar, great artwork when you go there. Check the artwork out on the walls and check whose name is right there in the corner. Well, Pasquale Barba. That's right. Pasquale's a great artist, not only in the kitchen, but on the canvas, too. And 407-774-8080 is the phone number for Cafe Positano, the mother store located about 4 miles west of I-4 on State Road 436. And, of course, 3 weeks from tomorrow on the 22nd, we'll be there once again doing a live remote broadcast from 5 to 7. We hope to see you out there. The Shriners are going to try to bring all their stuff out again, too. And if this rain will stay away for a little while, we're going to have a big party there, and we want you folks to join us. And we'll have a fistful of coupons there, 20% off. Of course, if you are a member of the American Adversaries Army, you already have access to that via our Intel brief. The new one is out. If you're a member of the Army, you should have it in your email box, and your snail mail box will be arriving this week. And but please come and join us at Cafe Positano on the 22nd. And of course, you can go there anytime. And please tell them you heard about it on the American Adversaries. Pasquale loves to hear that. And he promises he will be back in on the show soon. They've been slammed over there. Really been slammed.
It's a good problem to have.
It sure enough is. Okay, and you'll also win tonight a My Liberty Threads T-shirt. These are made in America with proud American slogans on them. And, of course, Scott Miller of My Liberty Threads, mylibertythreads.com is where you can find it. They are also a sponsor of the show. And now, one or two of you may not have gotten it over the last, I think, 2 or 3 weeks. We've had some winners, and I ran out of shirts your size, and then last week I ran out of cards. But I'm getting re-upped this week, so everyone I'll get caught up on all the prizes by the end of the week. So if you haven't gotten your prize yet, you won a week or two ago, just hang in there. You will have it by the end of the week, I promise you. Okay, as I said, tonight we're going to do the Who Was That contest. Real easy rules. I'm simply going to tell you something about this person. You call us up and tell us who we are talking about, and you will win that $20 gift card to Cafe Positano and a My Liberty Threads T-shirt in your size. All right, 407-774-8255 is our number, and you cannot have one in, let's say, about 6 months or so. Okay, so I want somebody new or somebody who hasn't won for a long time to get a stab at this. All right, so at least for now, let's try to let the new people, or if you haven't won for a long time, get in on the loot. Who was this person that I'm talking about? What president had the last rites administered to him before he became president? A president had last rites administered to him before he became president. He was so ill or injured that he had to have the last rites, or at least the last rites were administered to him, thinking that he was going to die.
Really?
Before he became president.
Before he became president?
All right. If you think you know the answer, 407-774-8255 is the number. What president had the last rites administered before he became president? All right. I want to transition now. We were talking about the Democratic strategy. I'll talk a little bit about the Republican strategy. Brian Steibel used to be a regular on our show. caller on our show, he brought up the issue of how many Republican candidates is too many candidates. At some point, you do sort of reach saturation stage.
Right.
But you have to ask yourself, why are so many guys getting in?
And girls.
And of course, Carly Fiorina. And certainly you want to see a good, wide diversity of choices, but I think that there is actually something else going on here. I think that the establishment insiders are encouraging certain players to get involved. For two reasons. One, the reason that I postulated earlier when Brian was on the line, and that is that I think in a certain sense they're fighting last cycle's election. What Barack Obama was able to do effectively against Mitt Romney, and he started it early on. If you remember, even when Newt Gingrich was ahead in the polls and somebody else was ahead in the polls, the Obama administration was focusing their attacks on Mitt Romney. Because they knew that Mitt Romney was going to be the nominee. Now, how they knew that, we can talk about that some other time. They knew Mitt Romney was going to be the nominee, so they focused their attacks on Mitt Romney. We began to hear stories about him keeping his dog on the top of his car and all this other bizarre stuff.
That's
right? And it was all to chip away at him. And then, lo and behold, eventually the 47% video comes out. All to chip away at his credibility, at his persona, at who he was, and to develop in the American public's mind an image that they wanted to have of Mitt Romney. So I think at least in part, the Republican Party is wary of that happening again to their little darling boy. I'll tell you who that is here in a minute. You probably already know who I'm going to be talking about. They don't want that to happen to their little darling boy, so they've got this big, wide field of people that basically now the media, and if Hillary were so predisposed to do so, which she doesn't seem to be because she's not talking to anybody, and she doesn't have to in her mind, and to a certain extent, that's her best strategy to victory, that the focus won't be able to be put on the darling boy, the chosen one. So it diffuses all of that. You see, they won't allow for the Democrats to do that, at least early on. They'll have to wait, until much later in the game to do this. Of course, the part of the problem with that is that from the establishment's perspective, they could lose control. From our perspective, it could be so diluted and divisive at the end that it itself turns into a losing strategy. But I believe that is at least in part what's going on. But the darling boy that the Republican establishment, I believe, has chosen is Jeb Bush. We've talked about this. The big money donors of the establishment are falling in line behind Jeb Bush. As Martin O'Malley pointed out this last week when he announced that he's going to be running for the nomination against Hillary Clinton, that the president of Goldman Sachs told all his employees he'd be fine whether it was Hillary or Jeb. They are sort of both the darlings, if you will, of Wall Street. And, make no mistake about it, Hillary is a darling of Wall Street. They love Democratic policies on Wall Street. Look at what Wall Street has done while Barack Obama has been suffocating the economy. And by the way, they came out with new numbers Friday. The first quarter, we were actually in negative economic growth.
We shrunk, but don't expect that to be on page one.
Well, it was on the page one of the Wall Street Journal, but it was on page B1 of the New York Times.
Right.
But Wall Street's done just fine, thank you very much, thanks to Fed policy.
Right, $60 billion being shoved into the Wall Street by the Feds every month.
Well, in essence, yeah, that's right. And so
it's a false economy on Wall Street.
Right. Yeah, but it's worked fine for them, and they anticipate the same thing out of Jeb Bush. And, this morning, as we said earlier in the show, Bob Schieffer had his last day on Fake the Nation. And, by the way, he's tried to retire a couple of times, and they kept him on. And they probably should have kept him on again, but he didn't want to stay. But his last interview was with Jeb Bush, his last consequential interview with the presidential candidate. He also interviewed John Brennan, the head of the CIA, about the NSA thing. But I believe that it's fairly common knowledge at the inside players that Jeb Bush is the odds-on favorite, that he is going to be the nominee, and we'll just be fighting over who's going to be the vice president. And the whole strategy that the party has designed is wrapped around that.
And you don't think the Democrats know this? Of course they know it. They're digging up all the dirt on Jeb Bush that they can.
Which isn't hard to do.
Well,
exactly.
Yeah, well, and this is why I say, perhaps, the fighting last cycle's election is not going to be the best strategy for the Republicans. In other words, trying to have this big, huge, diverse field to sort of shield Jeb Bush probably at the end of the day is not going to work, and probably may end up actually being counterproductive. Inspire a guy like, say, Rand Paul to get all, jacked off and go off and run, as an independent candidate or something like that. And so, of the two strategies being employed right now, given the circumstances, I would have to say the Clinton strategy is the smarter strategy, given what they have to play with.
Right.
But when we come back, we'll continue to talk more. What president had the last rites administered to him before he became president?
Idi Amin.
Have you been looking to purchase or sell your custom, classic, antique, performance, or muscle car? You'll be happy to know that the premier classic car consignment shop in Florida is in your backyard. Just Toys Classic Cars is just 10 minutes away from Orlando International Airport.